was doing in the West Bank, knowing fully well what Israel does to Palestinian citizens of Israel, the internal apartheid, knowing all of that. But his wife is an Israeli Zionist, so he honestly doesn't care. That's all that really matters to him. And it's just a pathetic situation. It's not, I'm not going to say it's sad. He got himself into this. It's not sad at all. It's pathetic, and both of them are guilty of what they believe, what they spread, the lies they tell, just to make themselves feel better about their inability to account for their past, to account for their past beliefs, to account for their past actions in any sort of honest way. And thus, all that they can manage is these completely untenable arguments where they just double down on the bullshit they spread and try to falsely equate their opponents with themselves, because their opponents support resistance to Israel, and according to them, that's just as bad as Hila Klein literally terrorizing Palestinians personally in the West Bank and telling us stuff like 2-year-old Palestinian children are indoctrinated to hate, as if Palestinians don't have a valid reason to hate the USA and Israel for genociding them. Oh, and one more thing that I just wanted to address here while I have the opportunity is regarding Hila Klein's time in the IDF. I think I was actually way too nice to her, because they keep making arguments like, come on, you can't blame her. She was forced into it. She was a conscript, blah, blah, blah. And I've already dismantled those arguments on their terms, but I also think it's a dishonest red herring argument in the first place, because it implies that Hila Klein did what she did very reluctantly. You know, she was against it on principle, rather than just against it because she didn't really feel like it was, you know, fun or a good use of her time or something. And for her, it was the latter, right? She's not against the IDF. She's not against what the IDF does. She doesn't think that the IDF is a terrorist organization that she was lamentably forced into serving. No. She thinks the IDF is pretty much all fine and dandy. She's okay with what they do. She's okay with the people who serve in it, even the voluntary ones. So for them to use the argument of her being conscripted into it as if that absolves her, when she doesn't regret her time in the IDF at all. It's not like she's solemn about it. It's not like she's some American soldier who went to Iraq and now says, man, I did some horrible things there. I really regret joining up. I'd never recommend it to anyone. Please don't do it. I'll make you complicit in crimes or whatever. No, she's not like that. She supports Israel still. She supports all that Israel's military does still. So it's just such a dishonest argument. They're just wheezy little liars, man. They really are. Anyway, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. See ya.
Yeah, this is literally on his own fucking channel. He's blue pilling Nick in an IRL debate.
Anyway, uh-oh.
All right, be good.
I'm getting a crazy chat.
Okay, be good, be good. Yeah.
All
right, bye.
Philly, shout out.
Nothing gets me excited like seeing Philip DeFranco's chat call me El Zionist Nazi, free Palestine.
Yeah.
Ethan, you can migrate to Israel. Wait, I thought you didn't want that. Make up your mind.
I thought they wanted people out of Israel.
Yeah, do you want the Jews there or do you want them out? Yeah, so there it is.
So there it is. We got a big one today. There has been a lot of stuff. The election coverage that Ethan's been doing has kind of been bleeding into this drama with Hassan. And I know that I said I wanted to take a break, but I feel like I'm just getting pulled back into it. So let's get into it. This is going to be a long video. Just sit back, relax, grab a snack, put it on at work. This is going to last for a pretty long time. Let's start off with Ethan Klein's election coverage with Gila, and I think that this was an interesting moment. So Ethan calls Philip DeFranco, who has done coverage on the Ethan versus Hassan drama before, and we get a really pretty awkward exchange where Ethan calls and then he kind of checks out Phil's chat, and his chat is calling Ethan a Zionist and doing like the whole watermelon free Palestine stuff. And that is just like acid for Ethan Klein. That is a direct trigger for him. He's gotten to the point where when you do say free Palestine in response to his presence, he will take that to mean anti-Semitism. So let's see how he reacts to this.
Crazy.
Well, now AP's called it, so...
He regrets answering that.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, he was sweating. He was sweating.
He was sweating, but let's hope he remembers the good part.
We're going to see how that...
Yeah, there was a lot of good parts.
Yeah.
There was highs during that.
Like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Everyone be nice to old Philip. Phil's a good guy.
Phil did nothing. Phil's innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although he didn't call me a Zionist and tell me to go back to Poland, which might enrage some people. I can't believe you didn't tell that Jew to go back to Poland, Phil.
Yeah.
You guys want to argue about stuff?
What?
Okay, so just right off the bat, you can definitely see that Ethan is getting so fixated on this drama and his emotions, seeing people being pro-Palestinian in relation to him, that it is kind of impacting his relationships outside of the main focus of his beef, which was originally with Hassan, but now it's really having an impact on Ethan throughout just the general quality of his life. And this is becoming a pretty big issue for him, where he's unable to let things go. And I've done a lot of videos on this. I would just be repeating myself if I'm kind of talking about breaking it down and how Ethan is seeing people that are being pro-Palestinian, and he thinks that's anti-Semitism. Obviously, I don't feel like I need to explain the disconnect there and why that doesn't logically follow. But I think that this is just a really interesting example of how this kind of obsession with fighting against people that are just saying I'm pro-Palestinian, how this obsession is impacting Ethan. It's impacting his relationships with other content creators, and it's impacting his relationship with his fans, and even his relationship with the people on his crew. And this is a pretty interesting example of this.
Gonna bring up.
Just also one more thing. Later in this episode, Ethan says that he wasn't drinking at all. I originally thought Ethan might have been a little bit tipsy here. You can see bottles of alcohol. But to be fair, this looks like it's like hard lemonade in front of Gila. And I do think Gila was a little bit drunk in this episode, because Gila says some pretty weird things. Ethan claims that he hasn't drank anything all night. So
This is part of the war with the socialists.
Huh? Bro.
No.
Why?
No.
So Ethan says, should we bring up the war with the socialists? And we're going to get into that later, so stay tuned for that.
No. No. Really? It's already a depressing night.
Yeah, well, so then this is the perfect time to do it.
All I'm willing to watch is silly, like brain-numbing stuff right now.
Isn't that not me?
It'll be brain numbing, probably.
Yeah, brain numbing.
But silly.
But not silly.
I
It
could
won't
be silly and be like,
No.
hey, guys.
Trump just jumped to 91.
I mean, this whole needle thing is done. It's done. It's done.
Yeah, there's no longer no lean. No lean left.
I need some window for real.
For the bro.
Who's got the COVID cough syrup? In this bitch.
I'm seeing in the Hebrew news that they're saying that the New York Times is predicting Trump to win
Well, that's
Pennsylvania, Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Harris will win Wisconsin. Michigan.
why are you getting the news from damn? You getting breaking news from Israeli media?
And I just read all this in Hebrew and translated immediately to English. Are you impressed?
Yeah. They're obfuscating here.
Charlie.
Let's see here.
Take your Bravo underway.
UAV in the turret. We have eyes on.
Well, anyone else to call?
Charlie locked down.
We called it, to be honest. We projected Trump to win. At least 10 minutes into the stream.
Yeah, we did.
Security. Driving on DXD. Take it
Oh,
big.
bad song. Don't get it stuck in your head.
They're taking
Skip
C.
it.
What is this world we're living in? What's happening?
We called it, to be
All
honest.
objectives locked down. Hold those SOBs back.
With your
We're depressed.
Lost C. We're losing
What's
Alpha.
going on?
Losing Bravo.
What's going on, guys? What happened? Everyone's still fine.
Bro, with your
We're
antics.
depressed.
How the fuck did I kill the moon? What the fuck did I do?
You killed the moon.
Why? How?
Security.
With your calling too.
That was fucking awesome. How did calling Phil ruin the moon?
You asked, I answered.
Just know
How then?
it'll
You
be,
explain how.
it'll be clipped, and I know it'll be clipped.
Clipped in
Wait,
what
you
way?
guys are
I don't care
serious?
about that.
Clipped in what way?
In just
Losing B.
sometimes ironic jokes
Hostile
in out of
UAV
context.
established.
What did I say
overhead.
that could even be taken out of context?
What can you do? We can't live
I
our
know,
life
I
based
know.
on how clips will be clipped.
I know.
You can't live our life based off how clips can be clipped, and I think that's why Gila. That's why I say I think Gila was a little bit dipsy in this one.
Look at his head.
Maybe I just haven't seen enough. Let's rewind to the
Let's
actual
see how many of
phone
his
call.
followers came and watched our. Down.
Can Ethan call into Philip DeFranco?
Right, but
I don't know. Will he answer?
We have security zone A.
Took it.
I know. I've been following that saga closely the whole time.
Text is a safe option.
So true.
Less aggressive.
It looks like he's looking at chat.
Okay, I'm gonna call Phil.
Just call him.
I'm nervous about it.
No.
Hey,
Voicemail.
he's got it muted. He's got it do not disturb.
It's
We're prank
DD.
calling
Call
the
one
other
more time. and then-
sleepover.
One more time?
Yeah.
Oh, once they don't.
Oh, I know. That does
Disturbed.
not.
I don't want to be disturbed.
Wait, that I feel bad about.
No, do not disturb just means that if it's important, call twice.
Which this is not.
Okay, I'll.
So I'm not gonna really like break down the weird, awkward, like social dynamics of Ethan insisting on calling this guy who clearly doesn't want to be bothered right now. Like Philip DeFranco has a pretty big YouTube channel and he's doing an election night stream. He doesn't want his stream to be derailed. What, he has 50,000 people watching. You can't see it with my dumb drawing, but it says 50,000 right by his name. And Ethan's doing this kind of weird thing, like, I don't know, I'm gonna bother this guy. I'm gonna kind of like poke and prod at him for fun. Obviously, it's just like Ethan's being bored. It really is kind of like middle school behavior. Oh, well, our sleepover is kind of boring. Should I call my friend and see bother them on their sleepover? Yeah, it's kind of giving me that vibe, but it's a really weird social interaction here, and then also like the dynamic between Ethan's crew, where they're like, some of them are like, don't call him. Other people are egging Ethan on. So you can kind of decide for yourself how you feel about that.
Call again. I'll call again.
See, I told you.
Oh my god.
I'm so scared.
Let's see.
We're at the sleepover.
We have the live shot, although it's probably on a bit of a delay. Philip DeFranco, how are you?
Wait, should I put you on speaker?
Sure, yeah, you're on our show. I should have led with that.
Ballsy move. You just call the man.
Just call.
Alright, 1 second.
I called twice too. I don't know if you noticed it the first time it went to voicemail. I forced my way through.
He's calling in. He said he was a time watcher, long-time fan, first-time caller.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, so thanks for calling in. What did you want to ask?
I don't know. Like, is Hero usually like this, or is she drunk? Because that was really not that funny, and she's like cracking up.
I want to try.
See what fucking happens.
I'll come to you. Or we should just meet. We can meet on the trails. No, I don't. No, it can be just us.
Wow.
And I'll tell you both ways that you're wrong and I'm right.
Yeah. Let's do that. You know, Trump is gonna win, and that's very sad. But I'm glad we were able to provide some level of, victory for the people.
Yeah.
Victory for the people.
Enemy UAV.
So you said the Trump presidency, you mean?
No,
I didn't expect to turn that fast from you.
Yeah, Trump is taking it. I'm surprised how hard he's taking it.
Bro, this is an awkward conversation.
I was just scrubbing through a lot of the different streamers. It sounded like the Young Turks were talking about still a potential Red Mirage, Hassan, and I guess we're getting very angry about. No. They were talking about Harris, and Hassan's guest was talking about the whole no convention and stuff like that. But anyway,
Just saying, does Ethan have a reaction to when he talks about Hassan? I was not paying attention.
About no. They were talking about Harris and Hassan. I was just scrubbing through a lot of the different streamers. It sounded like the Young Turks were talking about still a potential Red Mirage, Hassan, and I guess we're getting very angry about. No. They were talking about.
Ethan does look a little bit bad when he brings up Hassan.
The whole no convention and stuff like that. But anyway,
We had the edge. Just don't
Can we
get
storm the
cocky.
Capitol? Are you
This shit ain't
pro
over.
violence?
I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, see where we're at, and then and move forward in life accordingly.
All right. Well, we'll start with tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there. But let's meet on the trails. We'll talk after.
Phil, I've been a fan since 2009.
Backlash for even answering this call. In which case, I don't know this man.
I am. Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but I am pro-genocide by the fact of being.
Bring in whatever your shit. I feel like I try to go out of my way.
God damn, I love
Don't
tell Sierra. We're gonna get a real fucking.
And then I talk about it. I don't have. I've been 2 shows away from quitting the internet for fucking 2 years. I don't want to deal with whatever's going on.
Well, you just co-signed genocide, so.
God, dude, he looked cracking up, just like cackling when Ethan says, "Well, you just co-signed genocide." So, like, what's going on here? Why is Ethan doing this? Well, he's just getting really fucking touchy about people saying that he's pro-genocide. And there's a really easy way that you can get people to stop saying you're pro-genocide. You speak out against the genocide. But since October 7th, 2023, Ethan's been completely incapable of saying what Israel is doing is bad without also talking about all of the damages and all of the negative feelings that Jewish people in America are feeling. And the reason they're feeling that is because people are talking about Palestine. And people are being supportive of Palestine and against Israel, because you kind of have to be against Israel in order to be supportive of Palestine. And since October 12th, when he had the original conversation with Hassan, he's been incapable of just saying what's happening in Palestine is horrible. He always has to say, well, why are you criticizing me? I agree what's happening in Palestine is horrible, but you're ignoring my feelings of a Jewish man in America who has to be subjected to people saying that Palestine should be free. Ethan had a 3-hour-long conversation with Hassan, and a good hour and a half of that was dedicated to Ethan's belief that the phrase "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" is anti-Semitic. So again, Ethan, just, man, if you would forget about yourself when talking about Palestine and Israel. You would not be called a Zionist. You would not be called a genocide supporter. And now he's gotten so over this. It's kind of like it's like a sliver inside of him, and the skin that the sliver's in has gotten just so irritated, and it's so painful now that even a little poke will cause a huge reaction out of Ethan. So any tiny little thing that pokes Ethan, you get this completely overblown reaction. The guy kind of makes like a semi-joke of, oh, I don't even know if I should be talking to you. And Ethan's like, oh yeah, well, I don't know if you know this, but I'm pro-genocide. And then, of course, Gila cracks up because, honestly, Gila could not give a single fuck about Palestinians. So she thinks it's kind of funny. She's said before how the abandoned Kamala Harris movement and the idea to not vote for Kamala Harris to try to somehow support genocide is so dumb. She's kind of like condescended to that. Basically, yeah, she does not respect people that are kind of pushing against this genocide. So, yeah, we've seen a lot of like little micro reactions from Gila that's kind of built up this case of someone who just does not really care too much about what's going on in Israel. And not to really target her, I do think that the main focus of criticism should be on Ethan because this is his show. He is ultimately the person who decides what content his show brings, and he's the one that's started this crusade. But it really does not look good when you have someone like Gila sitting beside you continuously making comments that belittle people that are fighting against genocide.
I don't co-sign anything.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you knew this about me, Phil, but I'm Jewish.
I was about to hang up on you, but I can't hang up on you.
Yeah, it's pretty controversial, but apparently I can go into detail. Do you want to? I can go. It sounds like he wants to get into it. It sounds like you want to get into it.
No. Thank you for answering.
Conversations and get my dumb face on your subreddit and the Snark Reddit and all that stuff. So I'm gonna hop off.
You know about H3 Snark? Okay, interesting. It goes far and wide.
Man, every now and then I get mentioned.
Oh, really?
Why do they go for you?
What?
Or do they like you?
They didn't like that you the stuff about my weight back in the day.
Oh, wow. Those people have been around. Okay.
I don't know anything about anything. I'm just an innocent bystander. Okay, I gotta go.
You regret answering?
No, I don't regret answering. It was unexpected. It's weird that have we ever talked?
Yeah.
Other than like the thing? I don't know.
We must have. Remember when we were sharing our office?
Anyway, so this is where we started off this reaction, but we see Ethan being like, I don't know if you realize, but you're talking to a Jewish person. And again, that's just Ethan conflating criticism of Israel with kind of being anti-Jewish in general. And he's just
thought it would be either closer or I was expecting her to win the whole time. I never was worried for some reason.
I'm just chilling.
And I saw XQC put $700,000 on Harris.
That should have been the sign that she was going to
Oh my God.
We're winning.
That was fucking awesome. Talked on the phone there. Yeah, and Encino.
Oh, Philip. Phil's a good guy.
Phil did nothing. Phil's innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although he didn't call me a Zionist and tell me to go back to Poland, which might enrage some people. I can't believe you didn't tell that Jew to go back to Poland, Phil.
Yeah.
You guys want to argue about stuff?
I mean, man, do I need to say it like Ethan's just making up arguments in his head to respond to now? That's kind of how unhinged he is at this specific moment.
What are you going to bring up? What's the topic?
The war with the socialists.
No.
Bro.
No.
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 Why? No.
Literally.
It's already a depressing night.
Yeah, well, so then this is the perfect time to do it.
All I'm willing to watch is silly, like brain numbing stuff right now.
Stay on task.
Isn't that not me?
It'll be brain numbing.
Yeah, brain numbing.
Yeah.
But silly.
But not silly. It won't be
Hostiles
silly.
reclaimed the lead.
Not on.
Hey, guys.
Trump just jumped to 91%.
I mean, this whole needle thing is done. It's done. It's done.
Yeah, there's no longer no lean. There's no lean left.
No lean.
The lead is
I
on.
need some lean though, for real.
For real, bro.
We got the program. Cough syrup.
I'm seeing in the Hebrew news that they're saying that the New York Times is predicting Trump to win
Well, that's
Pennsylvania, Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Harris will win Wisconsin and Michigan.
why are you getting the news from damn? You're getting the breaking news from Israeli media.
And I just read all this in Hebrew and translated immediately to English. Are you impressed?
Yeah, they're obfuscating here. Let's see here. Yeah. Well, anyone else to call?
Really awkward.
We called it, to be honest. We predicted Trump to win at least 10 minutes into the stream. I think.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, I gotta cut Ethan some slack here because this was. I mean, it was a pretty depressing night, especially when so many people.
What's going on, guys? What happened? Everyone
Kill the mood, bro, with your
We're
antics.
depressed.
How the fuck did I kill the mood?
Bro.
What the fuck did I do?
You killed the mood.
Why? How?
With your calling Phil and bringing up all kinds of
That
negative
was
stuff.
fucking awesome.
It was fun.
How did calling Phil ruin the mood?
You asked, I answered.
I just know
How then? You explain how.
It'll be clipped, and I know it'll be clipped.
Clicked in what
you
way?
guys are serious?
Oh my god. So I mean, Ethan did kill the mood. Jesus Christ. If Ethan wants to know how he killed the mood, well, it's making jokes about genocide and making jokes about how that he's Jewish, he's a supporter of genocide. That will kill the mood. Even it's just not funny, man. People, especially when people are calling you a genocide supporter a lot of people are calling you that, and they kind of mean it. It's not really a joke that they're saying at you. And especially when the guy you're joking with is kind of like, oh well, yeah, you have been a little bit weird on Israel. I'll admit that.
Clicked in what way?
In just sometimes ironic jokes out of context.
What did I say that could even be taken out of context?
What can you do? We can't leave our lives based on how clips will
He
be
said
clipped.
he's a genocide supporter.
I thought it was a fun call.
Yeah, what the fuck? What's happening? What is this world we're living in? What's happening right now?
They said they were going to go and hike.
You asked, dude. You asked. What happened?
Tell me how. Tell me how.
I told you.
Tell me how. Because I don't understand how.
Well, I don't have a way to get through to you then.
I wasn't. I got other people.
I got nothing for you.
Come on, you can't call me out like that and not say why. That seems a little crazy.
I think we can just call it the show. Honestly, everybody's just depressed. What's happening?
I'm so sad.
I didn't fucking make him lose, okay?
I know.
I voted for her.
Yeah, no,
I know.
Well, it sounds like you're mad at, angry at me for some reason that I don't understand. Then you are.
I'm not angry at you. I said you killed the mood.
There's
just
no shot.
depressed
That
now.
call was awesome.
I didn't feel awesome coming off that call.
Why?
I'm just telling you.
Was that call awesome?
Because it turned into you just complaining about his chat. Everybody, like, they fucking hate you and just banning it or whatever.
He brought it up.
Ethan, I'm not telling you that it's your fault. I'm saying that call ruined the mood.
Not my mood. My vibes are immaculate.
Are they?
Oh yeah.
Bro, Ethan's vibes are so fucked up. Anyway, so that was really weird, and I do think that, again, this is an example of Ethan's issues and his inability to deal with criticism that the community he's built up, which is a progressive-leaning community. And of course, as building up, as you have a progressive community, your community is going to care about Israel and Palestine, specifically the genocide that Israel is doing. And you are opening yourself up to criticism from people like that when the only coverage you're giving to Israel and Palestine is talking about how Jews feel bad when they hear anti-genocide activists just saying that Israel's bad and Palestine needs to be free. So that's kind of the reason why Ethan's gone off the deep end. let's get into this next clip. So this was from the next day. Let's speed this up.
Ooh, hello everybody. Guess what? The world is not over. It might feel like it, but we're here and we're still alive for now. We haven't all died yet. But we'll see. We'll see about that. We'll see. Welcome everybody. You know, we weren't going to do an episode today, but I looked out into the world this morning into the subreddit and I saw the people were in need. The people were hurting.
No. I don't want to hear that anymore.
Well, you know what? I have an announcement to make about this song. It's so prophetic and it's so powerful. I'm here to, we're gonna, okay. I said that I wanted to do a remix of it to make it like a somber, sad kind of like chestnut song. And then Ian had the idea to do a competition. Do a, oh my, because there's so many different ways you can cut that song. And then Dance was like, oh, you could be scared, like, oh my God.
Right.
So I think we need to have a competition on the oh my God, it's Donald Trump song remix.
I love this song.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
Talk to you, by the way.
Hey guys.
Hey. How you doing?
Bummed out, man. I didn't think it would hit me like that, but I mean, my wife was crying this morning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
what is it? What is love? What is hate?
Once you see the data, because women voted for Trump, Latinos voted for Trump. Donald Trump
is so pro-Israel.
Not only is he
and then him and Bibi like talk a lot, and Bibi's become a lot like Trump.
Yeah, Bibi's his guy. They're like homies. Bibi's celebrating last night.
Just the other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about, and he fired him because they had a disagreement, and that's like so Trump code.
He was like a moderating voice in the war room.
Yeah.
And he got rid of him, or at least a more moderate voice. I don't know anything about the guy. Just recognize his picture.
Okay, so this was a really troubling segment that we got from Ethan and Gila here. So who's the guy that they're talking about? Well, the guy that they're talking about is this guy, Yoav.
Work out what went wrong and fix it. Hard fail,
So what did they say about him? He's a really good guy. He's a moderating voice. I don't know that much about him. That's what they say.
Voice in the war room.
Yeah.
Palestine president in America, then Kamala Harris. That's it. Donald Trump is so pro-Israel. That's his guy. They're like homies. Bibi's celebrating last night.
Just the other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about, and he fired him because they had a disagreement, and that's like so Trump code.
Well, he was like a moderating voice in the war room.
Yeah.
And he got rid of him, or at least a more moderate voice. I don't know anything about the guy. Just recognize his picture. He looked mean. I thought he was mean just because he looked mean.
No, it's not. Well, the big disagreement was that people are fighting for the Orthodox Jews to get drafted as well to the army because they're not.
Motherfuckers, dude.
But Israel,
that's an issue?
Yeah, the Orthodox don't serve.
They don't serve.
Yeah, like Amish people too. They don't do that.
Bro, I'm so confused. Why is Ethan and Gila mad that the Orthodox Jews don't have to serve in the IDF? Weren't they mad about the fact that Gila had to serve in the IDF? And every time they bring up people complaining about Gila being an IDF soldier, their defense is that, oh well, she was conscripted. And then the implication is that it's a bad system there because why should Gila have to do this job that she doesn't want to do? That's what that seems to be what their defense is, that she's conscripted. And it would seem to be that that's a bad system, and yet they're mad that the Orthodox aren't drafted. Why aren't you mad that there is a draft in the first place?
Has to. Everybody has to do it. Sure. So it's like, what the fuck?
Dude, the Orthodox are such leeches there.
Oh, you're saying Orthodox?
Well, obviously not everyone has to do it. Ethan calls the Orthodox leeches. Okay, that's, if taken out of context, that could be misconstrued as anti-Semitic. Because, like, you can definitely make the case that calling a group of Jewish people leeches is anti-Semitic.
In Israel?
Yeah.
Don't serve? I thought that like everyone had to.
Exactly, except the Orthodox.
Oh. And then
because they need to sit and pray for God all day.
Oh my God! Now making fun of the ultra-Orthodox Jews' traditions. Oh, they need to sit and pray to God all day. Are you kidding me? I mean, also let's not forget that the IDF doesn't accept non-Jewish Israelis. Don't forget that, and that's just strictly because of racism. We can't have non-Jewish Israelis because maybe the Palestinian Israelis would defect and like do some kind of treachery or something like that.
Oh, I'd be Orthodox as fuck. I would have the things, the rats and everything. I'd be all about it. The stone and everything. Yeah, I would be all up in that. Yeah, I'm not serving nobody.
They're like, the rabbinite was like, oh, if you make us serve, we're gonna.
Okay, that's actually kind of funny. This guy's like, okay, well, I would join the Orthodox. He's talking to someone that I don't know like how easy it is to avoid the draft, but she literally went in there and he's like, I'm not gonna serve anybody, and she did serve the people, and then he's mad about the Orthodox that aren't serving them. This is a very conservative mindset, right? It's the same mindset that illegal immigrants have that are now citizens and now have good paying jobs, and now they don't want other legal immigrants to come in because they're like, oh, well, I was an illegal immigrant, but I don't want other people to have an easier pathway to citizenship than I did. Or it's the same thing with the student loans. People are railing against that because they're like, I had to pay off all of my student loans. I was responsible. Why do they get a free pass? It's a very conservative mindset from Gila, and you can see this everywhere. It's basically like, well, it's not fair. It's okay, why are you 4 years old?
Leave Israel. It's like, bye. These are the same idiots who are like driving all this ultra nationalism too. They're like, let's go to war, but not us. So anyway, the guy who's advocating for got fired. He has a coalition with them, and he has to appease them. That's the word.
Good. So Ethan said he didn't know anything about Yoav Gallant, and what does he say that he actually knows? The guy that was advocating for them to serve got fired because he had a coalition with the Orthodox Jews in Israel. So as a matter of political disagreement, he had to get rid of this guy. If we're talking about a moderating force, I do think that beefing up the military and expanding your draft rules and your conscription population isn't really moderating. That's literally a policy that would increase the number of soldiers in the Israeli military. So Ethan says he's a moderating force, but he doesn't know anything else about him. But the one policy that he does say that he knows about this guy is the opposite of a moderating force. That's an extremely like pro-military stance. Sheila says that this guy's a really good guy, and Ethan says, oh, I thought he was mean, and she's like, he's not mean. So what do we get from him? He's a moderating force, he's a really good guy, he's not mean, and he's trying to beef up the military, according to Ethan. So let's read about this Yoav Gallant. Let's actually do this. The channel name is Uninformed Leftist. Let's try to get a little bit more informed. So Gallant was born in 1958 in Haifa to Polish and Jewish immigrants. Okay, so his military career, he started as a naval commando in 1977. Funnily enough, he moved to Alaska and worked as a lumberjack for 6 years before joining the IDF again, which is kind of badass, honestly. Like, that's probably the best thing this guy's done in his entire life, is working as a lumberjack. So then in 2001, he became the chief staff of the GOC Army headquarters, which is just a multi-corps command headquarters for the Israeli army. Gallant attained the rank of a major general when he became the military secretary of the Prime Minister in 2002. This is skimming over a lot of this stuff because the current stuff is much more relevant to our conversation. So this is interesting. So he was... Gallant attained the rank of a major general when he became the military secretary of the Prime Minister in 2002. And then in 2005, he was appointed as commander of the Southern Command. During his tenure, Hamas launched the 25 June 2006 Gaza cross-border raid that resulted in the deaths of 2 IDF soldiers and the capture of a third. So the IDF then launched Operation Summer Rains that resulted in a decrease of Hamas rocket fire for some time, but failed to free the hostage. So you can see how Israel's had a history of not freeing hostages that Hamas has taken through violence. And if we scroll down to how they actually got the hostage back, they did a hostage trade. They traded one IDF soldier for 1,027 Palestinians imprisoned in Israel, which is crazy. Like, imprisoned in Israel, they're basically prisoners of war, right? So Gallant commanded the operation, and his role in the field was Israel in the field and in what was at the time considered the success of the operation gained praise and helped him in the raise to chief of staff. However, Gallant and the IDF were criticized for the implementation of the Dahia doctrine of widespread destruction of civilian infrastructure in the Gaza War of 2008-9. With the Goldstone report concluding that the Israeli strategy was designed to punish, humiliate, and terrorize the civilian population. So the Dahia doctrine is essentially just state-sanctioned terrorism. It is a military doctrine designed in Israel for the IDF, and essentially it just says destroy all infrastructure in the area. Do not care if it's civilian infrastructure. And actually, you should target civilian infrastructure. And you can read here, it says that it's you destroy large-scale destruction of civilian infrastructure or domicile to pressure hostile governments. So essentially it is just terrorism. It's putting pressure on the population of a country or region, and in order to have governmental policy change. So right off the bat, we can see that Gallant is not a good guy. Like, he's literally just doing terrorism in Gaza. Let's skip ahead to his Minister of Defense. So on August 2023, Gallant warned that Israel would not hesitate to attack Hezbollah and return Lebanon to the Stone Age if Israel was attacked. So again, pretty much threatening terrorism against the entire country for the actions of their military. This is a pattern that we see in Israel. On October 9, 2023, following the beginning of the Israel-Hamas war and attacks in Israel by Hamas militants, Gallant said he had ordered a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we are acting accordingly. Let's get some context for this. This is from Ethan Klein, and this is really disappointing. And I'm going to go over Ethan Klein's Instagram tirade, but for now, I just want to cover this because it's directly relates to the history of Yoav Gallant. So Ethan writes, this quote is from October 8th and is a direct response to October 7th terror attacks. I think it's a reasonable assumption that he was talking about the Hamas militants that killed civilians the day before. Either way, this is a guy in Bibi's war cabinet that wanted to end the war, and he was just fired. If you care about war ending, then you agree with Hila. So, multiple things. Yoav Gallant did not want to end the war. We can keep reading about his political disagreements with Netanyahu, but the main disagreement is that he wanted to do a trade deal to get hostages back. He knows from experience that a war will not free hostages, and really you need to do a trade to get hostages back. That was his main thing. He's not in favor of ending war. He's actually in favor of increasing war with Lebanon. That's currently. And then the other thing is he's not in favor of having a military occupation of Gaza. And I think in large part that's because he wants to free up military resources to deal with Lebanon. But we can continue reading about that. But just once again, Ethan is saying that I think it's a reasonable assumption that he's talking about the Hamas militants that killed civilians the day before. And this is what he says: there will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. We are fighting against human animals and we act accordingly. So Ethan's just straight up defending the statement. This statement was literally used in the International Court of Justice to make the case that Israel is committing a genocide, and Ethan is supporting the statement. Ethan even says that he doesn't know about this guy. He just looks mean based off of his face. So Ethan should honestly just shut the fuck up about this. Why is he opening his mouth? We know that this guy, Yoav Gallant, has a history of doing collective punishment on Palestinians and basically on Muslims that are surrounding him. He has no problems killing civilians in order to achieve his military gains. And Ethan doesn't know this or he doesn't care about it. And you have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to take this statement that was made the day before and on its face, we're cutting off electricity, we're cutting off food, we're cutting off fuel. How do you cut off electricity, food, and fuel to a military group that's embedded within a population? Only to that military and not to the civilian population that they're embedded within. Ethan is not thinking critically about this at all, and you can you can see how what started off as Ethan just getting kind of bristled at comments on his YouTube channel, and then that's kind of like created a larger feedback loop where at first Ethan will be like, well, you're not considering the feelings of Israelis, and then he goes to criticizing Hassan and saying, well, Hassan, you are running defense for terrorists, you're running defense for Houthis, and now he's straight up running Ethan has gone down such a dark path that he's now found himself running defense for genocide. And you cannot spin this any other way. He's gotten himself so screwed up and looped around where now he is straight up defending genocidal statements in order to defend his wife and himself. It's really sad, so let's just keep reading about this. So we have on October 9th, so this is the quote that Yoav Gallant made that Ethan is defending. And then we can see the actions that Israel does, and it is definitively genocide. And this is an accurate description of the genocide. So on October 13th, 2023, he met with the U.S. Secretary of Defense. He said that the camouflage of the terrorists is the civilian population. Therefore, we need to separate them. So those who want to save their lives, please go south. We are going to destroy Hamas infrastructure, Hamas headquarters, Hamas military establishment, and take these phenomena out of Gaza and out of the earth. On October 13th, he said, Gaza won't return to what it was before. Hamas won't be there. We will eliminate everything. Gallant said he had released all restraints as he addressed Israeli troops on the border with the Gaza Strip. In November 2023, Gallant warned that Beirut could meet the same fate as Gaza. He made the same warning in January 2024, saying that allowing Hezbollah and Iran to decide how we live our lives here in Israel is something we don't accept. And this is the peaceful dove that Ethan and Hila say is such a great guy. This guy's saying that Beirut could meet the same fate as Gaza. We're just going to invade Lebanon, take out Beirut. Also, this motherfucker knows that the best way to get hostages out of Gaza is by doing a peace deal with them, doing a hostage deal with them. And this whole thing of we're going to destroy everything that's just bloodthirsty revenge, genocidal intent, and it is just an excuse for colonization, and it's both simultaneously an excuse and the first step of it. So South Africa submits to the International Court of Justice that Israel is committing genocide against Palestinians. Gallant describes South Africa's submission as anti-Semitic. Well, I can understand where Ethan identifies with this guy now. He's getting criticized for genocide, and he says that those criticisms are anti-Semitic. In March 24th, or in March 25th, 2024, after the UN Security Council adopted a resolution calling for a ceasefire, Gallant said that Israel has no moral right to stop the war in Gaza. What a peaceful guy here. If we go back to this Ethan post, this is the guy in BB's war cabinet that wanted to end the war. I mean, it's so insane. Ethan's gotten so far off the deep end. And this is the Wikipedia article. You can spend like 30 seconds reading through it and disprove Ethan's entire worldview. So we can just see some more like atrocious stuff that he does. So he rescued 4 hostages. The Israeli military rescued 4 hostages. This is funny. So Israel is the most immoral army in the world and like the most courageous army in the world. And so these Israeli military rescued 4 hostages in June. And this guy says that it's one of the most heroic and extraordinary operations that he had witnessed over the course of 47 years. So what is that fucking track record? That this is the most heroic and extraordinary operation in 47 years rescuing 4 hostages? Just how fucking toxic and evil is the Israeli army? If this is the best thing they've done, you can't think of a single thing that is more heroic than rescuing 4 hostages in 47 years that the Israeli army has done. I mean, that really speaks badly to how just straight evil. So in June 2024, he visited the United States where he sought to gain support for an escalation of the war with Hezbollah. Again, it's extremely peaceful going. Following the 2024 Lebanon pager explosion, Golan announced a new phase of the war in northern Israel and Lebanon had begun. Just before the blast, he told the U.S. that they had an operation planned. So Netanyahu fired him on November 5th on U.S. election day. So Gallant claimed that his sacking was caused by his desire to see the quick return of Israeli hostages in Gaza and an inquiry into the October 7th attacks, whereas Netanyahu simply attributed it to a lack of trust between the two. Okay, so let's just take a look at this. Neither guy is saying it's because Gallant was too peaceful. Gallant obviously has political ambitions, and we can read through more of his political career in the following section. But what are the 2 things that Gallant says it is? Netanyahu's basically just saying it's nothing, it's a lack of trust between us, which does point to the idea that rather than Gallant having an ideological difference with Netanyahu and him wanting to push for peace, it's more of he's a political rival to Netanyahu, and Netanyahu wants to excise him from his cabinet. So where is this political rivalry stemming from? Well, Gallant says it. He wants to be responsible for the returning of the Israeli hostages. Let's just be honest, Netanyahu doesn't want the hostages to return because as long as there are hostages, that gives him a good reason to stay in power. We need to keep fighting the war with Hamas. We need to keep fighting the war with Hamas because they have hostages, so you need to give me all of these wartime powers to get our hostages back. It's kind of like the dog chasing the car tire. You always have it, but once you actually catch your goal, you're kind of screwed. You no longer have any of that momentum. Any of that momentum that's causing people to give you that extra power. What else? What is the other thing that Gallant says? He wants to do an inquiry into the October 7th attacks. What does that mean? Well, it means that he's going to put the blame on the October 7th attacks on the feet of Netanyahu. Netanyahu ran as Mr. Defense, Mr. Safety and Security. If you elect me as the Prime Minister of Israel, you're never going to have to worry about your safety and security again. Turns out the October 7th attacks happened underneath the Netanyahu administration, and he was very responsible for these attacks. Why was he responsible? Well, first of all, he propped up Hamas. Hamas was the only Gaza ruling body that Netanyahu agreed to do any kind of business with. That's just like they kept feeding a tumor that was growing in Gaza, and eventually that metastasized and resulted in the October 7th attacks. How else was Netanyahu responsible for this? Well, he was expanding settlements in the West Bank, and as a result of that, a lot of the military was spent defending these settlements and just like killing any Palestinian resistance that was trying to resist people from just straight up taking over their homes. So Netanyahu was responsible for a large extent, or to a large extent, for the October 7th attacks. And he doesn't want the hostages found. Both of these are things that an ambitious Israeli politician could push for to undermine Netanyahu and make himself look better by comparison. If you can say, oh look, Netanyahu claims that he's Mr. Security, and these are the ways he's failed you. I uncovered that. I'm showing you how Netanyahu failed. You can get a lot of support. Likewise, you can both undercut Netanyahu's power by returning the hostages and increase support for yourself by being the person that returns the hostages. So this is a pure political move, and Ethan and Gila talking about how Gallant was a moderate and was pushing for peace is complete misinformation.
Hardpoint located. Enemy UAV
and there's
inbound.
really no excuse for it. It's misinformation, and it is it is running defense for genocide. There's no other way to put it. And these Ethan and Gila, and pretty much honestly anyone else on the show is open for criticism. As much as you want to criticize them for this, because it's actually insane no one did any kind of fact checking for these two idiots at all. Like, how many producers do they have on set? It's kind of mind-boggling where you have something that these two, Ethan and Gila, are so involved with that they just bring it up casually. And it's an extremely serious situation. We know that Ethan's been dealing with people apparently being anti-Semitic because of what he's talking about on Israel. So not only is it serious for the people in Israel and Palestine, but it's serious for Ethan. Like, he has stuff writing on this to get his analysis of Israel correct. There's a lot writing for it on it personally for Ethan. And he just cannot be bothered to do any kind of research at all. I also think Ethan's not the brightest person in the world, and it could be possible that he just straight up does not have the capacity to read through this and comprehend it and get a good idea of what's going on in Israeli politics. Man, I mean, really sad. And I would hope actually that it's kind of the latter rather than the former. I hope that it's Ethan just being unable to comprehend the nuances of Israeli politics, but I don't think Ethan's that dumb. I think that he's just so fixated on this bend of defending himself and attacking pro-Palestinian protesters that he's just not really allowing himself to understand this stuff. So really, really dumb stuff there. And I think this is interesting. Let's get to this. Not this one.
Graham, because he couldn't get to you, is fucking gross how he keeps picking smaller content creators that are just getting by, and he is sitting on his golden throne. Is just straight up harassment. I know he's just. It's. I'm sure he'll eventually stop when he realizes that
become a lot like Trump.
Yeah, BB's his guy. They're like homies. BB's celebrating last night.
Just the other day, BB fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about, and he fired him because they had a disagreement, and that's so Trump coded.
But he was like a moderating voice in the war room.
Yeah.
The person that they're talking about is Yoav Gallant.
Just really good guy, moderating voice in the war room, and then Ethan goes on to say, I thought he was a scary, mean guy, and he was like, he's not mean. Insane, dude. Insane. He's literally an Israeli-sanctioned terror, or it is an Israeli-sponsored terrorist. The Dahiya doctrine that he employs all the time is just terrorism.
Start how you need to go.
Yoav Gallant, alongside Benjamin Netanyahu, has an active petition for his arrest by the ICC. Now, of course, the Israeli government and the American government have been able to actively suppress this investigation from the ICC, the International Criminal Court. ICJ is prosecuting Israel. ICC prosecutes people for war crimes. Prosecutor Karim Khan has launched an investigation into both Yoav Gallant, the defense minister that they're talking about right now, that Benjamin Netanyahu just fired, and Benjamin Netanyahu for war crimes. Okay? The person that they are talking about here, before getting fired by Benjamin Netanyahu, the person that they're calling a moderating voice said this, which is the reason why petition, an active application for a warrant for his arrest by the ICC. I have ordered a complete siege on Gaza. No electricity, no food, no fuel, no water. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we act accordingly.
Such a moderating voice.
TACOM, I need eyes overhead.
That is not a good guy. I'm sorry. It's not.
He's a really good guy.
To see Ethan
I can't believe it, dude. It's insane.
Got rid of him. That was a more moderate part.
I mean, you're not beating fucking genocide supporting allegations if this is what you say, that he's a really good guy.
Crazy. Don't know anything about the guy. Just recognize his picture.
I don't know how you don't know anything about Yoav Gallant, brother. This has been 12 months. 12 months. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who has once again an active court case against him for war crimes by the ICC.
Just realized I was blocking Hassan.
He's mentioned by name.
Let's get into the war crimes.
I can also confirm today that I have reasonable grounds to believe, on the basis of evidence collected and examined by my office, that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant bear criminal responsibility for the following international crimes committed on the territory of the State of Palestine on at least the 8th of October 2023. The crimes include starvation of civilians as a method of warfare, willfully causing great suffering, serious injury to body or health or cruel treatment, willful killing or murder, and intentionally directing attacks against the civilian population, as well as crimes against humanity of extermination and or murder, persecution, and allegations of crimes of committing other inhuman acts. My office submits that these individuals, through a common plan, have systematically deprived the civilian population of Gaza of objects indispensable to human survival. We have reached that conclusion based upon interviews with survivors, many eyewitnesses, experts, from satellite imagery, statements from Israeli officials, including the 2 individuals subject to the present application, as well as based upon several hundred authenticated videos, photographs, and audio recordings, many of which were taken and shared by victims and eyewitnesses themselves. My office charges Netanyahu and Gallant as co-perpetrators and as superiors in the commission of these alleged crimes. Israel, like all states, has the right to defend its population. It has every right.
Thank fucking God he said defend its population. Bro, this defend itself bullshit. Does Israel have a right to defend itself? You'll agree Israel has a right to defend itself, right? No, states aren't people. Countries aren't people. What is this defend itself? Underneath that pretext, you can do anything. You can say that America nuking Cuba, is it defending itself? Oh, well, I thought I saw a knife. I had to take it out, man. Let's talk in terms of reality. Defend its population. Come on, man. Oh my God. Defend its population. Not defend itself. Not defend its, like, geopolitical interests around the world. Defend its population. Thank you for this guy for actually speaking sense. He's actually making sense of the subject. Also, Israel said this was anti-Semitic, so keep an ear open for all of the anti-Semitism that this guy's about to spew out. I haven't heard any so far, but maybe he just takes his jacket off and full swastikas on his dress shirt underneath his jacket.
To ensure the return of hostages that have been criminally and callously taken. Those rights, however, do not absolve Israel of its obligation to comply with international humanitarian law. Intentionally causing death, starvation, injury, and suffering to the civilian population, including so very many women and children, are criminal means to achieve military and political goals. That's what we allege. I have reasonable grounds to believe that 3 senior leaders of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, Mohammed Daif, and Ismail Haniyeh, bear criminal responsibility.
Okay, and then he talks about the military and civilian leaders of Hamas that have committed war crimes. Funnily enough, I don't think the Israeli World
for the following
Court Defender called these claims Islamophobic. But yeah, this is pretty brutal, and we can take a look at the charges against Benjamin Netanyahu. Don't know why he's called the Bibi, but Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. So what are their charges? They bear criminal responsibility for the following war crimes and crimes against humanity committed on the territory of the state of Palestine in the Gaza Strip. Starvation of civilians, willfully causing great suffering, willful killing contrary to Article blib, or murder as a war crime, intentionally directing attacks against a civilian population, persecution as a crime against humanity contrary to Article 7(1)h, other inhumane acts. So, yeah, this is just a repeat of the video, but this is Ethan's really good guy and a peace dove who's literally wanted by the International Court of Justice. So crazy stuff there. Let's continue this Hassan clip.
Mean. I thought he was mean just because he looked mean.
No, it's not.
But I'm the radical extremist. I liked Ethan because he would go after the evil people no one would touch, but he keeps going after genuinely kind-hearted good people. So icky. He's been so used to being on the right side of things that are so easy to be on the right side about anti-trans incels, etc., that he can't fathom. Maybe he's championing the wrong side. I don't know. I don't know. I'm legitimately shocked. Bro hasn't said anything in a year about this until now, and whenever he speaks about it, it's to out himself as either apologetic or completely ignorant towards anything going on in Palestine. It's